We were celebrating 1 year of India's biggest economic reform, that's the GST. In a celebratory event organized by the Finance Ministry, Piyush Goyal hints that GST could see fewer slabs once tax collection stabilize. He also suggested that the GST exemption threshold could be raised to 1.5 crore rupees of annual turnover. Meanwhile, Union Minister Arun Jaitley joined in GST's first anniversary celebration via video conference and hailed the work officials of who contributed in the successful implementation of the GST. With a higher tax mop-up, he is hopeful that the tax slabs will soon get rationalized. Listen in.
वास्तव में अगर जीएसटी का टैक्स लाया गया है तो ये समर्पित है देश की अगली पीढ़ी के लिए, देश के भविष्य के लिए, कि उनको हम चाहते हैं कि अच्छी सीख मिले, उनका कारोबार शुरुआत से ईमानदार कारोबार बने, उनको कभी एक गलत काम करने की आवश्यकता ना पड़े। छोटे व्यापारी के लिए मैं समझता हूं ये गेम चेंजिंग रिफॉर्म होने वाला है, छोटे उद्योग, छोटे व्यापारी के लिए। शायद पूरी तरीके से हमने उसका इम्पैक्ट समझा नहीं है। वैसे तो 20 लाख तक के जो बहुत लघु उद्योग हैं, टाइनी इंडस्ट्री, टाइनी व्यापारी है, छोटी दुकान चलाता है गांव में, कोने में, उस पर तो जीरो टैक्स है, वो तो रजिस्टर भी नहीं करना। 20 लाख से 1 करोड़ तक कॉम्पोजिशन स्कीम में मात्र 1% टैक्स लगता है। उसको बढ़ा के अब 1.5 करोड़ करने का निर्णय ले लिया। इस सेशन में वो कानून भी इंट्रोड्यूस हो जाएगा तो 1.5 करोड़ रुपए तक मात्र 1% टैक्स लगेगा। जितना जितना लोग ईमानदार व्यवस्था से और जुड़ेंगे, ई वे बिल का सक्सेस जब सामने आना शुरू होगा तो हमारे हाथ और मजबूत होंगे इसको और रेट्स को कम करने के लिए। हो सकते हैं कुछ स्लैब्स भी कम हो सके आगे चल के, लेकिन ये जो अलग अलग स्लैब्स रखे गए हैं, इसको इस देश की जो सामाजिक परिस्थिति है उसको देखते हुए रखे गए।
The weighted average of the total taxation basket has significantly come down. And therefore, we are in the process of rationalizing the rates itself. What is the impact without raising rates? In fact, by lowering rates, the revenue impact of that. And I think this is the most significant impact of the GST which has taken place. The first quarter of this year shows that the advance tax payments indicates that the personal income tax collection, the gross figure has increased by 44% and corporate tax by 17%. So the GST not only impacts the indirect taxation, but those who have to disclose their turnover now for the purposes of GST have necessarily to pay their direct taxes also. So this net significant increase in the direct tax is substantially attributable this year to the effective enforcement of the goods and services tax. I have not the least doubt in my mind that the total basket of taxes, and in case India is to evolve into a developed country, from almost a stagnant tax GDP ratio, the last 4 years have shown a 1.5% increase. My personal desire would be that over the next 5 years, in the non-oil tax category, through the GST and the direct taxes, we make a further increase of 1.5% by adding the non-filers and the evaders into the taxation category. There's still a lot of scope for that improvement.
Meanwhile, former Finance Minister P. Chidambaram took a jab at BJP and called GST a deeply flawed reform that overlooked all advices of the Chief Economic Advisor. Further attacking the One Nation, One Tax reform, he said that raise the tax burden has not reduced but increased incessantly for the common man, and GST has essentially become a bad word among the people.
quote, government did bad things in a big way, demonetization, or big things in a bad way, GST, unquote. The design, structure, infrastructure backbone, rate or rates, and implementation of GST were so flawed that GST has become a bad word among business persons, traders, and common citizens. The only section that appears to be happy about the GST is the tax administration that has acquired extraordinary powers that frighten the average business person and the common citizen. Every step taken by the BJP government with regard to GST was deeply flawed. The GST bills ignored the advice of the Chief Economic Advisor on many aspects of GST, notably on the rates. The net result is that what we have today is a very different animal and not a true GST. Multiple rates going up to 40%, arbitrary cesses on top of the rates have completely distorted the idea of GST. An intolerable compliance burden has been put on the average business firm, especially on the SMEs, by requiring the SSC to file 3 returns a month in every state where the SSC carries on business. That means that an all-India business is required to file over 1,000 returns a year. Gross delay in refunds has blocked crucial working capital of firms.
And we had Ruchi Bhatia, who was present at the celebratory events for 1 year of GST. She filed this report earlier. Listen in.
1 year to the goods and services tax, and yes, it has made life not only good and simple for the people of India, but also for the government. If you look at the goods and services tax, both the UPA as well as the NDA government have to be credited for this reform that took almost 10 years. But after the rollout, we really can see the way things are panning out in terms of GST collections. A lot of people who have now are a part of this new indirect tax reform, and it goes on to show that over the years to come we will see the kind of impact that the goods and services tax will have on the economy as well. While there were expectations that this will add almost 2% to the GDP, it needs to be seen what will be the real impact over a long period of time. But so far we can see how the goods and services tax has led to one tax, one nation and one market. It has definitely aided in the ease of doing business. And not just that, if you look at what does it mean for the government, we have seen how the government is getting better revenues in terms of the indirect tax reform legislation as well. And although the asking rate of GST per month, according to the budget calculations, is close to 1.15 lakh crore rupees, the government is hoping that over the months to come we will be closely inching towards that target.
Thanks, Ruchi, for that. But meantime, Top Chambers of India Inc. have loaded the biggest tax reform, turning 1. But they do hope that liquor, fuel, power will soon come under the tax ambit, and of course reduction in the number of tax slabs as well. Listen in.
Actually, it's been a great journey for the last 1 year. As I said earlier, it's almost like a cliche to say that this is a historic achievement. The fact that we have come so far itself is very complimentary, very congratulatory for the government, for the industry, for the economy as a whole. I think a large part of the issues are now highlighted. A lot of them have been resolved. The collections have also been fairly good. In fact, collections have been much better. When this was introduced 1 year ago, a lot of people expected the disruption to be much higher. I think there has been very little disruption. And this is one of those things where there's a little bit of cost of implementation, but the benefit has far already outweighed the cost. And I think at this 1 year of the introduction, we can look back and say this is truly remarkable what we have achieved. And I think in the coming years, we will see the more and more impact of that. Having said that, I think there is still some issues to be resolved. Obviously, invoice matching has to happen. E-way bill has just been introduced. We are hoping that the rates keep on coming down. They've come down in the last 1 year. We're hoping they come down even further.
I think let the problems be bygone, because let's appreciate that such a mammoth reform I think, ever in the history of mankind has been implemented with, great alacrity and great cooperation of the government and industry, trade and commerce. The very fact that 400 amendments were issued, it means more than one amendment per day. So it was online, the government was changing, simplifying, and simplifying, So I think it's a great job done. India, 1 year, it's settled down. Revenues are also stabilizing. As today the Finance Secretary said, the last month's figure is about 94,000 some odd crores, which is an improvement on the, of course, March month. So I think it's, and also the biggest advantage in this has been to the MSME sector, because the ease of doing business for them has increased tremendously, ma'am. Because 17 indirect taxes, 23 cesses, so many inspectors coming, so many forms, so many returns, all have been eliminated. And now if the government...
Well, you just heard out the best of the best in India in talking about the GST reforms, and of course 1 year on, what has it been like? But MOS for Finance Shiv Pratap Shukla believes that the government will be able to achieve and surpass 1.15 lakh crore mark for revenue collection in a month. Listen in.
हर जो है पूरे प्रांत और देश के लोग बैठ करके जब इस पर डिस्कस किए हैं, तो मुझे लगता है कि चिदम्बरम साहब को उस पर भी सोचना चाहिए।
सर, एक और इम्पोर्टेंट विषय है, वो है जीएसटी कलेक्शंस का। बजट में 1.15 लाख करोड़ का पर मंथ कलेक्शन आना चाहिए, पर अभी तक हम देख रहे हैं बस 95,000 करोड़ के आसपास। सो इवन जो 1 लाख करोड़ का मार्क है वो भी अभी काफ़ी दूर है हमारे लिए। तो सरकार आने वाले टाइम में ऐसे क्या मेजर्स लेगी कि 1.15 लाख करोड़ का जो टारगेट है वो मीट किया जा सके?
एक्चुअली उधर जो चल रहा था, वो जो जिन लोगों ने अपना रिटर्न नहीं फाइल किया था, उसके नाते वो प्रॉब्लम हो रहा था। अब सभी लोग अपना रिटर्न फाइल है और धीरे धीरे वो बढ़ता चला जा रहा है। हम हो सकता है कि 1.15 से भी एक्सिट करें।
सर, मेरा